Chief Executive Officer of the Universal Communication Access Fund here in Tanzania. Yes, actually, the ideas of establishment of the fund started way back in the 90s. And in 1997, in our first national telecommunication policy, there was information on a statement which was saying a fund should be established to provide communication in rural and underserved areas. Later, in 2003, the new policy was put to actually replace the old one from 1997. It also actually covered statements on actually making communication to be a basic need to all the people in the country, so necessitating establishment of the fund. However, also the policy went further to actually provide clauses which would actually put liberalization of our market as one of the important parts of the development, and which happened in 2005. The market was fully liberalized, so operators, instead of having rollout obligations and licenses, they are no longer had the rollout obligations and a license. Now, to replace the requirement for rollout obligations and the licenses, now the fund has to be established, which was designated to actually provide areas, to provide the whole framework for provision of communication in rural and underserved areas. Now, the Act was passed in 2006, November, and then in 2009, the regulations, which are actually like the subsidiary legislation, were put forward, which were more detailed than the Act in actually how the fund should be functioning. And immediately towards the end of the year, the board of the fund was launched, and from there until now, we've been working on actually preparing the stuff. Now we're ready to actually start the tendering process as early as next month. The few challenges which I can easily point out, that is, first, generally when the Act was passed, between the time the Act was passed until when the regulations came to being, it was a bit quiet. I think probably I wouldn't have all the answers as I was not part of the process at the time, but one of the things I think it was the very understanding of how the fund should be run. Another thing is it was a changing time. We had a new licensing framework. There was a huge growth in terms of what the operators were doing. They were also pushing their infrastructure towards rural areas, etc. So I think this is the best time, as far as we're concerned in this country, to actually start putting up the fund. There's been a lot of effort by the operators to provide communication in rural areas. Currently, in aggregate, the coverage could be around 70% of the geographical area, and that means a lot of coverage is already in rural areas. The areas which are not covered are the areas which probably will not be covered if we don't intervene in the next couple of years or even in the next decade or so. 95% of the population coverage by 2013 is a goal I have in mind. The first part of work, which was very interesting one or the other, was actually the gap analysis, trying to figure out the areas where there's no communication at all. And it was some information which we did not have before at the village level, which is the smallest administrative unit, finding out areas which had communication and have this validated by representatives of the people, members of parliament, was a huge success. Now we have a fairly clear picture of areas which have communication and areas which do not have communication. Starting from here, the only challenge would be identifying which areas we can start putting up infrastructure now, and maybe financial resources. But as far as like gap analysis, I think we are in a very good sense. It's a huge success. It was not easy. My whole life I've been in telecommunication, and I have to say I'm a strange creature. I've worked in so many different aspects of telecommunication, starting from being a switching engineer in the incumbent operator, went to being data engineer within the same, then regulatory advisory manager, then went to the regulatory authority. Part-time I've been a programmer, so I've had bits and pieces of everything. But what has been driving me is looking the next steps in as far as the market has been growing. So even when I was involved in projects like interconnection, issues related to electromagnetic interference, EMFs, and whatever, those are the things that have been driving me, seeing what are the next steps in as far as the sector is concerned. So when I looked at the opportunity provided working in the fund, I say, wow, this looks like something which will interest me. can I contribute to actually see if I can, with others, find answers in providing communication in rural Tanzania? And rural Tanzania is like many countries put together. We have the highlands, we have the lakes, we have so many of the mix and mixtures of types of topology and infrastructure, which if you want to provide communication, there's no one size fits all. So the challenge provided by that was attractive enough for me. I'm seeing it's a big task which is ahead of us. I think USAFA is a very good idea, putting up resources together across Africa, all the fund managers in terms of capacity building, sharing experiences, having a platform where common problems can have common solutions, or unique problems can actually have other people's inputs and actually trying to solve them. USAFA has been existing for some time. Many people have been there. I mean, at least few chairs that have been there before me, and they have pushed the USAFA to a point where it is now. I think the task ahead of us is to go to the next level, trying to realize the goals which were put when the USAFA was being established. Contribution of CTO can never be forgotten. It's a very important part, and all other stakeholders are coming. But still the role remains into us as members to actually make sure that we go to the next stage. You have asked about what we need to do. I think the first is actually to try to realize the goals. Can we have our own meetings? Can we actually have a platform, either virtual or a physical platform where we can exchange our ideas? I think that's a very important goal. And this is something I have told myself within the next 1 year with the rest of my management team, we should be able to achieve. Thank you.